The Ohio Supreme Court agrees to hear ECOT's appeal to regain $60 million in state funding. U.S. Representative Jim Renixai asserts that, as governor, he would dip into Ohio's rainy day fund to combat the state's opioid crisis. And Emily's List is recruiting women to run for Ohio Senate next year. Today's roundup is brought to you by Jeremy Pelzer. Supreme Court to hear some of ECOT case. The Ohio Supreme Court has agreed to hear ECOT's appeal of the state's attempt to claw back $60 million in funding from the all-online charter school because students logged on too little, writes the Plain Dealer's Patrick O'Donnell. However, the justices agreed to hear only one of ECOT's four legal arguments, that using time spent online to determine attendance and state funding for the school is improper. There's no timeline yet on when the Supreme Court will hear the case. Renixai's opioid plan. U.S. Representative Jim Renixai, in an op-ed in The Hill on Wednesday, states that he would use part of Ohio's rainy day fund to jumpstart efforts to address the state's opioid crisis, an idea endorsed by some other gubernatorial hopefuls, including Republican Mike DeWine and Democrat Joe Schiavone. The GOP gubernatorial candidate also writes that for Ohio to have the money to solve its opioid crisis, state officials must address looming short-term and long-term budget shortfalls caused by Medicaid expansion spending. Renixai also writes that he'll soon be introducing the Opioid Prevention Act of 2017, a bill that would, among other things, limit drugs like Oxycontin and codeine to no refills and a 7-day supply. A Few Good Women, Emily's List, a national advocacy group that aims to help elect Democratic women who support abortion rights, is recruiting candidates to run for the Ohio Senate next year, reports Cleveland.com's Mary Kilpatrick. The group hasn't said which specific Senate districts they're looking at, though there are several seats held by term-limited Republicans that Dems could have a chance in, including Kevin Bacon in SD3, the Northeast Columbus area, Bill Beagle in SD5, Western Ohio, and Gail Manning in SD13, Lorain and Huron counties. Some Senate Democrats are leaving, too, including Joe Schiavone, Edna Brown, and Mike Skindle. Attention Emily's List Senate recruits, if you're a liberal, pro-abortion rights woman who's running for local or regional office, a new group wants to lend you some free help in putting together campaign videos. Putting Women in Their Place, founded by Cincinnati TV/film producer Megan Park, relies on a grassroots network of media professionals to help candidates make the videos. Ohio stages second execution. Parma double murderer Gary Ott was put to death Wednesday morning, marking the state's second execution since the Ohio resumed lethal injections in July following a 3-year break, according to Cleveland.com's Eric Heisig. Claims of pain. Ott's attorney, Carol Wright, said she saw signs that her client experienced pain which he received midazolam, the first of 3 drugs used in the lethal injection procedure. Heisig writes that Wright said she saw Ott experience abnormal stomach movements, struggled to get air, and cried. When Wright got up to contact the Ohio judge who is hearing a lawsuit challenging Ohio's lethal injection cocktail, she said she wasn't allowed to leave the room for several minutes, in violation of protocol. A state prison spokeswoman says Wright's request was handled appropriately. Issue 2 AD Blitz nears. If you're already sick of the barrage of ads on Issue 2, the prescription drug ballot issue, get ready. Ad spending on the issue is rapidly expanding starting this week, according to the Columbus Dispatch's Alan Johnson. Issue 2 opponents have spent or purchased about $19.5 million in airtime, including about $1.7 million in the week from Wednesday to Tuesday. The pro-Issue 2 side has dropped about $4 million on TV ads, including about $1 million this week. Lang in there, Republican George Lang was sworn in Wednesday as the newest member of the Ohio House. Lang, a Westchester Township trustee with an interesting history, was selected by a House GOP panel to fill the House District 52 seat in southwest Ohio that was vacated by Margie Condit's resignation. Trump test. The Hotline's Josh Kraushaar has an overview of how Ohio's 2018 U.S. Senate race is shaping up. With a rematch likely between incumbent Democrat Senator Sherrod Brown and GOP Treasurer Josh Mandel, the race figures to be an important test of whether there's a market for Trump's ideology without Trump's outsized personality. Sherrod seeks more from Equifax. Brown plans to introduce legislation requiring Equifax to provide 10 years of free credit monitoring to the 143 million Americans whose financial data was compromised by security breaches at its company, according to Cleveland.com's Sabrina Eaton. Brown told reporters that the single year of credit monitoring that Equifax is offering to T.